In this video, I'm going to cover a few tips on approach shots that I've learned playing golf through professionals as well as guys who've been playing the game a lot longer than I have that have helped keep my game more consistent and lower my scores. And we're going to be starting with this first shot, this approach shot. As you can see right there, I'm about 107 yards from the green, which is in the distance. Now, what my shot is basically a wedge into the green, but there are a few characteristics I want to talk about first. Number one, I'm on a downhill lie, which makes it hard to accurately judge how that ball is going to travel because downhill lies often result in the ball coming out a little bit hotter than it normally would off of the face, and it's going to drift towards the right. It's got a tendency to go towards the right instead of straight on. So I've got to compensate for that in my golf shot. Also, I've got a deep ravine here, which actually leads up to a raised green. So the distance is not going to be 100% on my GPS-based golf app that's telling me 107 yards to the center of the green. So what does that ultimately mean? Well, my 56-degree sand wedge can range anywhere from about 98 to, if I give it the juice, about 108 yards. Now, that's given it everything that I have, and that's a perfect shot. So obviously, beginner golfers seeing that 107 on the screen would think, hey, I need to really smack my full wedge and get it up there onto the green, to the center of the green. I'll be fine. But I want to caution against that. Instead of doing that based on the downhill lie, the raised green, and then of course all the distance that you have to cover, not to mention it's also cold out so the ball is not going to travel as far, I recommend clubbing up. So I'm actually going to go with a 52-degree wedge here to try to get to the center of the green. Hopefully, if I hit it just right and compensate for the downhill lie and the raised green, I'm going to be in a good position for my putt. If you are enjoying this video, then please smack that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already. Now, I just talked a little bit about a downhill lie, and obviously one of the ways that will help you improve your game is just setting up correctly to that downhill lie. And as a beginner golfer, you may not know exactly what you need to do, so I'm going to give you a few tips. When you are addressing a downhill lie, make sure that you actually travel upwards on the shaft so that you're giving yourself a little bit more length in the total overall club. And the reason being is because you're not at a flat level surface, you're actually having to make up more distance between you and the ball. So your club needs to be slightly longer. So just come up the shaft a little bit when you take your grip, and that is going to help you reach that ball and make sure that you're not blading it or worse. Now, the opposite is true for an uphill lie. Uphill lie, you want to choke up on the club a little bit because the distance between the ground and you is closer. So your club doesn't need to be quite as long, because if you were to just take, say, a full swing like you normally would on a flat ground, you're going to dig into the ground and hit your shots fat. So choke up a little bit. That's going to help you quite a bit. I want you to also remember that downhill the ball is going to tend to go right, uphill the ball is going to tend to go left. So you need to aim accordingly. Aim slightly to the right of the target or slightly to the left of the target to help keep that ball on track. It's not an exact science. Play with it, try some different angles on your local course when you have time. It's going to help you shoot more consistent scores, lower scores, and have you breaking 100 in no time. So let's get on to the next tip here. This deals with an elevated green. Obviously, as a beginner golfer, you're trying out a variety of techniques and things like that, and you need to stick with what really works for you. However, in this situation, if that is the bump and run method, don't use that. Quite frankly, that's not going to have the desired outcome that you want. So if you have the option of using more lofted wedge than a pitching wedge, say like a sand wedge or even a lob wedge, then choose that option, because you really need to get the ball in the air up over that lip so that you don't hit onto the side of the green and have it roll back down. I've had it happen to me and it sucks. So get that ball up in the air and make sure that you are getting the ball onto the green and not back into the same place that you were before. If you do not have a lob wedge, then take your pitching wedge, and what I want you to do is just open the club up a little bit, and that is going to help you get a little bit more elevation in getting that ball up onto the green. Now, this can be a difficult technique, so you really need to practice this on the range just to see what the ball does, see how it reacts, so you'll be better prepared when you actually use it in play. Using a more lofted club or simply opening up your pitching wedge a little bit is going to give you that added help to get the ball up into the air over the side of the green and have you on the dance floor. Guys, that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for watching, and as always, keep on swinging.